My name is Deb Morgan, and I'm a relationships coach at Not a Rehearsal. I have the honour and the privilege of interviewing the inspirational ladies of the March edition or the March issue of Motivate magazine, which is the brainchild of Sharon Brown. Now, Motivate magazine can be found at motivatemagazine.com. That's MO, the number 2, VATE magazine.com, where you're able to subscribe for an annual subscription to the magazine. I am joined today by one of the contributors to the March Inspirational Women edition, Meena Chan. Meena, hello, and thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
Now, Meena, I know that you are based in Phoenix, Arizona, and that you are currently a coach working with people aged between 20 and 30. But I want to take you back, if I may, to a number of years ago when you were married. Now, you met your husband 3 days before you got married. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, my husband was in the US and I was in India. So in India, we have something called the arranged marriage, if you've heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we had the marriage arranged. 6 months I was kind of chatting with him, but it was all audio only. So I got to really meet him in person just 3 days before the wedding. So that's one of the most courageous things that I've ever done in my life.
My goodness. And thankfully you went on from there, you got married, you have two children, is that right?
Yes, two children. I have a son, he's 7, and my daughter, she's 5 years old.
That's wonderful. But it hasn't been plain sailing for you so far, has it? You've had a successful career which has taken you to America as well as your husband, and you've had the opportunity to travel. But whilst that was fantastic and you have this fantastic life, it was beset by adversity, wasn't it? After the birth of your first child, of your son. Tell me
Yes,
a bit
yes.
about that.
Yeah, I came here to the US just like everybody else. I had a great career and life was going well. And I got to travel a lot of different places in the US because of my job. It involved a lot of travel. And I got quickly accustomed to the Western lifestyle, which is run, 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 and eat on the go. I got used to all these newer things, which I was not, quite familiar with back in India, where we used to cook our meals every day and have fresh food. And I think it was a better lifestyle there. But then here, the work-life balance kind of got a little bit out of balance, I should say. And my life got even more stressful after my son was born, because that's when I got diagnosed with something called as the postpartum thyroiditis. It is something where your thyroid glands get affected, and people typically do have a bit of fluctuations, if I may say, with their thyroid gland after any sort of hormonal trigger that happens. So childbirth was a big thing, and that's when it started with a little bit of thyroid issues. And I knew that something was more, deeply wrong. I felt it was not just the thyroid, but I did have a very busy lifestyle, busy career, full-time job, and managing my son who was very colicky. He hardly slept. So my life was like a zombie. I hardly slept, and I have no recollection of what even happened during that period. But to make things even better, we decided to have another child. So it was just 2 years of age difference between my kids. My daughter was born, and that's when my entire life was, it came to a real standstill. Because at that point, I couldn't proceed further. I kept insisting, I kept telling my doctors that I don't think it's just thyroid. And at one point, honestly, she was too frustrated with me. She said, "You always come with a long list of symptoms." But I realized later that when you do, I was later diagnosed with Hashimoto's after repeated requests. It's just a extra step of blood test, which the doctors were not willing to do. That's the case with a lot of women I see, that they always say that, I don't know why the doctors don't want to take that extra step. But I did realize later that you could have 300 plus symptoms with these Hashimoto's. It's a type of autoimmune disorder which primarily attacks your thyroid gland. So the body thinks that your own thyroid is an invader and it starts attacking its own glands, thinking that it's a foreign body. So that's when all these things started to come up. I knew I couldn't function the way I did before. I just couldn't manage multitasking anymore. And it all came to a standstill.
Oh my goodness. So when you receive a diagnosis like that, and I've never heard of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, when you receive a diagnosis like that, what goes through your head?
I think, honestly, for me, as I said, I was way, way too like a zombie life, just missing my sleep at nights due to my kids and nonstop feeding, because I had my son and I was feeding for a year, and then I was pregnant again, and then I was feeding my daughter for a year. So it was back to back of just this, and just going through this endless cycle, and also a whole lot of doctor visits. I have no idea how many doctors I've been to until I got referred to a specialist who's an endocrinologist who later diagnosed me with Hashimoto's. So I would say my period was a blur, a complete blur. When I look back, I don't know how I went through all that and still managed my full-time job and still managed to travel here and there. I don't know. I just did it all. But when I first heard this term, I thought it was something really unique. What's Hashimoto's? It just sounded
Mm,
too Asian name. I've never heard that before, and I thought I was so unique and so special that I got something really out of the blue. But when I just started doing a little bit of research, and I got to know that it's very, very common. It's like almost one in, I think when I saw that it was 1 in 12 before, but now I think it's almost 1 in 5 here in America who are being affected by that. And a lot of times people are not even diagnosed with it. So it goes even unnoticed. And people say that Hashimoto's is the autoimmune illness as such is much, much larger than cancer and heart disease combined.
my goodness. So do you mind me asking what sort of symptoms you were presenting with? Because it seems as if a list of 300, how on earth anybody could diagnose from that, is incredible.
Yeah, so most of my symptoms were I basically lost a lot of energy and interest. I just didn't feel like getting up in the morning. So if I woke up, then I knew that I had a long list of things to get done, and I just hated the fact that I had to, just put my foot down and get up. But I had to. I had two little kids.
Mm,
So that was my first thing. I was really, really bone tired. But people kept saying that it's just a postpartum. You have two little kids. It's normal. That's the way how you're supposed to feel. And even my doctor said, you just need to get used to the new normal. This is how you're going to feel for the rest of your life because you're a mom. And I believed that for a while, but then I was also having a lot of brain fog. Brain fog is when you keep reading the same sentence again and again and again, and nothing registers in your mind. It's just a big blur of different fonts that I'm seeing on the paper, and I couldn't register anything. My eyes were scanning, but my brain could not register. So, which is the reason why I also could not read up anything about Hashimoto's too much, because I was too tired.
mm,
And
goodness.
plus, I think from top to bottom, head to toe, there were a whole lot of symptoms. Every day I woke up with a headache and had sleepless nights. Even though I was tired, I couldn't sleep. So I had like heart palpitations, I had anxiety, I had suddenly I would feel terribly cold. and I used to wear a lot of socks and sweaters. And I live in Arizona, which is the
Mm,
hottest desert in US. And you can just imagine I used to wear all these sweaters and socks and look like a crazy woman in the home. And the next minute I would get all sweaty and take it all off because of the thyroid fluctuations. It can do
mm,
that to your body. So lower, less thyroid makes you feel more colder, and if it's higher, it's you get more hyper with all these symptoms and heart palpitations. So I'm like all agitated, restless, but couldn't really rest.
mm, mm. So, how did that impact then on your life? Obviously, you've just described it was having a massive impact on your sleep and your energy levels. Were you still working at that time, or had you become a stay-at-home mom then?
I was still working. I continued to work until 6 months after my daughter was born, and then made the decision that no, I think I really need to step back. The first thing we did was I left my kids with at a daycare, and I thought kids were the ones who were draining my energy. So if someone else could care for them, I thought my life is going to get better, but it didn't. And then I had to take the next step of quitting my job. And that was one of the best decisions because I was able to give back the quality time and the space for me to really heal and recover. I think that genuinely helped me. A lot of self-care.
Hmm.
That's what brought me back track to the track on course.
I was going to ask about self-care. What else have you had to do to really sort of nurture yourself and look after your body and your mind as a result of this?
Yeah, so it was a really long journey, and it was a good process because I write in my article that if I look back, there's always a bigger purpose why something happens in your life. And for me, this was one of the most best things to happen, even though I wouldn't wish this upon anyone, but this really made me to a pause, really pause and take a good look at what was happening in my life. My life was super busy, and I did have a lot of these symptoms that my body was giving me much before my son was born. I knew I was stressed, and I did have a lot of aches and pains. It just got a bit worse after he was born, but I kept ignoring my body's signals. And it was like what my body was like going gently, knock 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 knock, and one day it's like it just shut the doors, and it's like I refuse to work anymore. So I'm glad that it kind of in a way it brought about a lot of awareness in me. I had to really pause, just pause, do nothing else, just stop this crazy busy life, take a good look at what is it that I need at that point. For me, the only thing was I just wanted to heal and recover. So I
Mm.
could take care of my kids. I could be there with them, really present, and have a really quality life, not just like, just raise them, go here, there, but I wanted to be fully present with them.
Absolutely. And what other changes did you have to make? Did you have to change things like your diet and perhaps exercise regime to accommodate the Hashimoto's thyroiditis?
Yeah, so in my book, I write about the three areas. I just split it as mind, body, and soul. And in the body part, the some of the changes that I made were specifically with the diet. And diet was really hard because just eating very consciously, taking in the right foods, and detoxing, the eliminating the foods that didn't suit me were quite hard initially, because when there is also a food allergy test which shows up which foods your body does not suit. And when I did that, everything came up on that list, and I just wondered, what am I going to eat after
Mm,
this? But I just went through, and it was really good. Initially, it was hard, but now I really don't crave any of those foods. So the main things are like went gluten free. I had to go fully vegan, and which is good. I like the the energy and the lightness the diet brought about. And then I also got big time into yoga and a lot of exercises. I write that that was the year when I decided that I'm going to say yes to the right things and say no to the right things. The right yeses and the right nos are very important in
Mm-hmm.
self care. So I said yes, and I tried a lot of different things like, dances and Zumba and bar classes, which I would have never even tried before. And I tried different types of yoga. So I knew what my body really liked. So I was kind of getting really in touch with my body, and I was in the moment. When I exercised, I was fully present. And that's all I did. And if it was a dance class, I'm not like great in dancing, but all I did was just focus on the trainer. If a
Mm-hmm.
hands went this way, I focused on the hands. If it was the legs, it was the legs. So that 1 hour, it made me really present. And then I also did meditations for my mind. That really helped calm me down. It really helped me to get the clarity back. And that was one of the big things towards, having my brain fog. But just to step a little bit back, I kind of wrote down what were my top five symptoms. Because
Mm-hmm.
having 300 symptoms, I did have to classify it into digestion problems. And my number one problem was fatigue. As I said, I didn't have energy. Then I had digestion issues and bloating, and the food that I was eating didn't suit me. And then I also had the brain fog, which was a big thing, which didn't allow me to function further in a normal way. So, couple of things like that, and then terrible hair loss. That was oh my god, that was really heartbreaking to lose lumps and lumps of hair.
Yes.
So every thing that I did, like my mind, I had to work on the meditation part, which helped with the brain fog. The exercises helped with fatigue, and so did the diet help with the fatigue. I kind of went back to a, if you may say, like a gap analysis. This is
Mm-hmm.
my problem, and this is what I'm going to do to get to this. So every day I wrote my affirmations, I did my gratitude. My gratitude helped me kind of, it's like you cannot be mad and do your gratitude. Or if you write your gratitude, you cannot be mad after that. So it kind
Mm-hmm.
of brings the focus. And every day I had my intention. So my fatigue was so much that I had a very limited time within which I had to get a lot of work done, which means I had to get super intentional with what I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and which is one of the best things because people have a lot of energy and they do waste a lot of energy. But for me, I could not afford to waste any minute. So if I'm spending time with someone, it's either they are adding value to me or I'm adding value to them. So I had to get so focused with every simple thing that I was doing. So I got focused on my food, I got focused on my exercise, I got focused on my day, and that was the best things. I think the fatigue was the best symptom that I ever had because it didn't allow me to defocus anywhere. I just couldn't afford to waste my time and energy on random thoughts, negative thoughts, and my actions had to be focused. It got really super good, and it was like a game. It was like, okay, this is the amount of time that I have. How much work can I get done? And productive work, not just any work. So it helped me really get into that game mode, a challenging mode. And it also taught me a lot of willpower. So if I'm feeling so tired, then I tell my brain that before I go to bed, this is the list of activities I need to get done tomorrow. So mind and body, you better work tomorrow. This is what I need to get done. And it really helped me. So I think that's a blessing in disguise.
That's wonderful. And living really intentionally and in the moment, practicing, as you said, mindfulness almost. And I love in your article that you finished by saying that An unexamined life is not worth living, but also an unlived life is not worth examining. You were not meant to be a spectator, you are here to be spectacular. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. So tell me a bit about where you are now. You've been through this incredible journey of transformation. So where does that leave you now?
So this, I think, for 2 years, I lived this way, being very intentional with my entire lifestyle. That totally reversed my illness, and I got healthier and even better than how I was before. And I just continued being more intentional. And the big thing was the transformation. I realized that when it's the thyroid that's affected, it's I also had to look at this illness much more at a deeper level, at a psychological level, more at an emotional level, because your body is just showing up the physical symptoms, but deep within I had to get into the root cause of why something was happening. And for me, I realized that self expression was something that really was if I may say, like it was stifled, it was kind of limited in that sense. Maybe because of the cultural background that we come from. We are supposed to not speak against the elders even if we feel something is right or wrong. And we are also supposed to listen to people who teach you. We cannot speak against them. You cannot speak too much against your own spouse because that's also a cultural thing.
Hmm.
And then you also have little kids where you have to just listen to them and they are too young. So there's no sort of like a real sharing of your true self, your true heart. And that's what brought me into the writing journey. So I started journaling a lot of my thoughts and feelings so I can just get it all out of my system, so it no longer stays within. It's no longer toxic for me. And that started my writing journey. And somewhere down the line, in one of my meditations, this thought just occurred that I had to write a book. And when I just had this thought, I started panicking and I got all sweaty. It's like, oh my God, it's such a lofty goal. I've never even written a book in my entire life. And imagine writing a book. Okay, maybe it's just a thought. I brushed it aside, but it didn't go away. It just got stronger. And then somewhere down the line, I think when you just constantly, if you're more grounded and more connected and more centered with who you are, I think your courage speaks much louder than your fear. And I started to working towards that. I wrote my first book, which is on Hashimoto's and helping people to heal and recover. It's just my entire journey of what did I do during that time, how did I heal and recover. And after I finished my book, the next thing was a lot of speaking engagements. So once again, it helped with my self expression and getting out of my comfort zone, getting more courageous. So step by step, it just started building. So I also added that to my list, saying that I need to get more bolder, more courageous, say yes to the right opportunities. And whenever an opportunity presents itself, just accept it because there's going to be some seed of benefit in that. It's going to help me get more closer to the highest version of myself. So I started working on that, and this intentionally me began into a course or a program that I started doing for um, more of a younger age when they have a lot more energy, 20s and 30s. They do have abundance of energy, but then it's all scattered. They have no clarity. A lot of them are immigrants who come here from another country, but once they're here, they just the shiny object syndrome.
Mm,
Buy a car, buy this, do that. You get into regular job and family, kids. So they're kind of lost. Why did they even come here? So the immigrants 20 to 30 age group is who I really help them get more focused on their goals, life goals, helping them to lead an intentional life. And my main purpose or goal is to set a really good, be a good role model for my kids, so they can follow whatever I'm doing. And they see me doing things every day. And if I'm scared, I tell them I'm scared. I have this interview. They know everything. And, it's kind of helping them also to learn what's good and what's bad by watching me do all that.
That's wonderful. Meena, thank you so much for sharing part of your journey with us today. I'm absolutely inspired by it, and I've learned a lot today, as I'm sure our viewers and our listeners will as well. Just before we close, can you tell people where they can find out more about you?
Yes, they can reach me at www.meenachan.com.
That's wonderful. Meena, thank you so much for joining me today. And if you'd like to find out more about Meena's article or the other articles that appear in the inspirational issue of Motivate magazine, visit www.motivatemagazine.com, which is MO, the number 2, VATE magazine.com.